I watched my wife slide an envelope across the table at her parents' Christmas dinner, and the look in her eyes told me exactly what was inside. We were surrounded by family, her mother busying herself with dessert plates, her father pouring wine, her sister whispering to her kids, her brother arguing softly with his wife. The house smelled like pine needles, cinnamon, and fireplace smoke. But all of that fell away the moment Ava rested her red-painted nails on that white envelope and said, loud enough for the entire room to hear, "Open it. This is your real Christmas present." The way she dragged out the word real made a few heads turn. Her mother paused mid-step, as though expecting some sentimental reveal. Her father raised his glass, anticipating good news, maybe another baby. I opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a printed document on DNA testing letterhead. My hands went numb before my brain could catch up. The results were typed in neat, clinical language. Noah, my 4-year-old son, upstairs asleep after opening presents. The child who called me daddy, who wrapped himself around my leg every evening when I came through the door. The paper claimed he was not mine. 0% probability of paternity. No margin of error. No gray area to escape into. I stared at those numbers until they blurred. The table fell silent in an instant. Ava leaned back in her chair, swirling her wine with a smile so calm it made my stomach turn. Then she began talking as if she had been rehearsing for months. She told the entire room that she had stopped loving me 2 years ago, said it casually, like announcing a change in holiday plans. She said she found emotional connection somewhere else, with Logo. My business partner, my friend. Her mother sank into a chair. Her father set his glass down so hard it echoed. But Ava wasn't finished. She laid out her plan in the same cold, measured tone someone might use to discuss career strategy. She said Noah had been deliberate, not an accident. Insurance. She had wanted financial security, and I was building a startup that looked promising. She timed everything around revenue, milestones, valuation projections, and scaling forecasts. Waited for me to work 80-hour weeks, waited for my investment round to close, waited for the company to become worth something tangible. She said she was filing for divorce, that she had lawyers, that she would take half of everything I had worked for, plus child support that would scale with my company's valuation. She'd already researched the laws. Biology wouldn't matter. Courts favored mothers. In her mind, she had already won. Her sister stared in disbelief. Her mother began crying silently into her napkin. Her father looked at Ava as if she were a stranger. Ava just watched me, waiting to see me break, waiting for outrage or heartbreak or denial, waiting for some emotional collapse she could use for leverage in the legal battles she'd been planning in secret. But I didn't feel despair or confusion. I felt clarity, because everything she had just revealed, I had known for 6 months. Every part of her plan, every conversation she thought I didn't hear, every detail she believed she was orchestrating with precision while I slept beside her. I smoothed the DNA report against the table as though it were a bill I intended to file away, then looked her straight in the eyes. Check your email. The change in her expression was immediate, a flicker of uncertainty. She pulled out her phone, likely expecting some emotional message she could forward to her attorney. Evidence of instability or desperation. Instead, she found scanned divorce documents, a detailed timeline of her affair with Logan, screenshots of messages she'd thought she deleted, bank transfers she believed I knew nothing about, audio recordings, copies of the fraudulent paternity paperwork, statements from witnesses, a full legal case compiled piece by piece while she assumed I was too busy building my company to notice she was dismantling our marriage. Her hands trembled. The phone wobbled. Color drained from her face. Her father leaned over to read. Her mother stopped crying long enough to stare. Ava scrolled through page after page of evidence and began to understand that her victory had been imaginary from the start. I stood up. Everyone watched me. I told her, calmly, that every scheme she had just admitted publicly only strengthened my case, that the moment she announced her intent to divorce in front of multiple witnesses, she triggered the legal timeline I needed. That, while she spent years underestimating me, I had been preparing for exactly this moment. I left that house quietly, got into my car, and drove to the hotel I'd reserved 2 days earlier. I called Marcus, my attorney. Within an hour, he filed everything electronically: divorce petition, fraud allegations, emergency custody motion. By morning, the legal system was already in motion, but Ava still believed she was in control. The truth of how this all began was far less theatrical. Noah had gotten sick months earlier, a bad allergic reaction at preschool that led to a blood panel, a doctor noticing the mismatch in blood types, a private DNA test, a quiet confirmation that biology is unflinching. I didn't confront Ava. I didn't scream. I didn't demand explanations. I called Marcus and told him I wanted to know exactly what I was dealing with before I made one misstep. I spent 6 months pretending to be the man Ava believed I was. The oblivious husband. The devoted father. The startup founder buried in work. I documented everything. I backed up emails. I tracked expenses. I met weekly with my attorney, and in the middle of it all, Ava's younger sister Riley came to me in tears, shaking as she told me she'd seen Ava's messages with Logan. Screenshots, plans, financial forecasts, predictions of child support based on projected valuations, even messages describing Noah not as a child, but as a strategic asset. Riley helped me quietly, not for revenge, but because she couldn't stomach what Ava was becoming. Watching Ava during those months was surreal. She was a good mother to Noah in practice. Loving, patient, gentle, but the knowledge that she viewed him as leverage poisoned every interaction. She didn't know I knew. She didn't know I was building a case to protect him, not my business, because I had realized that business was replaceable. Money could be rebuilt. Noah couldn't. Noah couldn't. When Ava slid that envelope across the Christmas table, she believed she was detonating a bomb. Instead, she handed me exactly what I needed: a public declaration of divorce intent, in front of witnesses, with malicious intent clearly stated. From that moment forward, the law didn't see a scorned wife seeking independence. It saw calculated fraud. 2 weeks later, in the courtroom still decorated with leftover holiday garlands, the judge read through our filings. Her expression hardened with every page. She called it one of the most premeditated and financially motivated cases she had seen in 20 years. She granted me temporary primary custody of Noah. Ava got supervised visitation. No unsupervised weekends. No secret conversations. No manipulation. On the financial side, the judge ruled that because Ava had entered the marriage under fraudulent pretenses, she wasn't entitled to what she expected. She didn't get half of the company. She didn't get alimony, and because I had custody, she didn't get child support. Logan was ordered to submit to paternity testing. The court would hold him responsible for Noah financially, not me. Months passed. The temporary custody arrangement became permanent. Ava violated visitation rules twice and nearly lost access altogether. I enrolled Noah in preschool near my office. I cooked dinner. I read bedtime stories. I rebuilt my life quietly around him. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, the startup took off. Investors came on board. We scaled. Revenue climbed. For the first time, I understood what my father meant when he told me success felt different when no one was waiting to take it from you. About a year later, I ran into Ava at the grocery store. She looked older than her age, tired in a way that had nothing to do with physical exhaustion. She asked how Noah was, mentioned moving out of state. Said she was sorry, not performative, not manipulative, just tired and real. I believed she meant it. But apologies don't rewind the clock. They don't rebuild trust. They don't erase intent. I wished her luck. She nodded and walked away. That night, Noah fell asleep halfway through his favorite book, his hand wrapped around my finger. I sat there for a long time, listening to the soft rhythm of his breathing, thinking about how close I came to losing him, not through biology, but through law and strategy and paperwork. Ava had been right about one thing: Noah was the most important thing in my world. She had just underestimated how far I would go to protect the only part of our marriage that ever mattered.